Hey YouTube, welcome to Rampage Reviews. I'm Rampage, and we're ready for Darth Bane Part 2, and I just recorded 30 minutes of video without my mic on. And so this is take 2. Let's dive in. So right now we're going to talk about Darth Bane, Rule of Two. This takes place immediately after the events of Path of Destruction, the last book we just reviewed, which is about 1,000 years BBY. Written by Drew Karpyshyn again. He writes the entire trilogy, the Darth Bane trilogy. Darth Bane is still on Ruusan. The war in Ruusan with the Army of Light, the Jedi, has just ended. Lord Khan released the Thought Bomb in the little cave in Ruusan, which 100 Jedi went there to goad him on to try to set off the Thought Bomb so that they could try to rid the world of the Sith. Darth Bane has escaped that madness. The Thought Bomb was released. And one thing I want to correct from the last video, before I said that the Thought Bomb killed everybody around him, it didn't kill everybody. What it did was it took their souls, their essence, and it enveloped them in this glowing orb that now exists in that cave, presumably forever. Their souls are in it. A couple of people have discovered it so far, including Bane with Zannah later. Zannah's childhood friend, Tomcat, or his real name is Daravit, who later becomes a healer on Ruusan. At this point in the story, he's just, I think he's still a kid. They're both childhood friends, him and Zannah. And Zannah's childhood name was Rain, so he would call her Rain, she would call him Tomcat. Right now, Bane's goal is he now has taken on a new apprentice, and he wants to pass on his knowledge to his new apprentice, and he also wants to try to kind of discover within himself, how do we continue with the Sith Order, and how do we fine-tune the Rule of Two? The Rule of Two being that there's only two Sith that should exist in the universe. A master to encompass and wield the power, and an apprentice to seek and crave the power. The apprentice will then learn enough to surpass the master and eventually challenge the master either in a duel or perhaps just kill him in his sleep or whatever, as we find out later with other ones, and take over that spot as master to then take on a new apprentice and start another two Sith that will lead the Sith Order into the future. So that's his goal at this point. Zannah is trying to learn as much as she can from Darth Bane, just kind of stumbling over, following him, just trying to pick up anything she can. And he's got a really blunt, like just tough love type of way of teaching. Sure, he's a Sith. It's pretty spot on, isn't it? Bane wants to try to test out his new apprentice. But before he does that, he actually finds a manuscript on the ground, and it's lying next to Lord Cordus, who he killed in the last book during the war on Ruusan, again with the Army of Light and the Sith. He finds this manuscript, and it's got the name of a Sith Lord in the book. His name is Freedon Nad, and he existed about 3,000 years prior, maybe even during the time of Darth Revan, or even Jedi Revan. Has heard of Freedon Nad and other studies that he's had when he studied at the Sith Temple on Korriban. But he also realized that this manuscript has the final resting place of Freedon Nad. He knows he was a powerful Sith Lord at the time. He's basically trying to find any locations or any thing that will give him more knowledge into the dark side and how to become more powerful, because it's basically that, passing his knowledge on, building a network of people to gain political power and dark side power to just make the Sith Order as strong as possible. At this point, he finds a manuscript. He realizes, I have to go to Freedon Nad's final resting place, which is on Zun, Exun. I think that's pronounced Zun. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that is an oversized moon to another planet called Onderon. Onderon is apparently just like kind of a wasteland, and there are clans of people called Beast Riders there that ride these big dragon-like beasts that are called Drexels. Bane said, I'm going to get off this planet, and you need to meet me at Onderon in 10 days. And Zannah's like, what? I'm not coming with you? And Bane's like, no, you have to suffer and find your way off the planet yourself. That's part of the trials and tribulations of becoming a Sith Lord. If you want to stay my apprentice, you'll follow me to Onderon and find your own way off the planet and get there, and I'll meet you there. She's like 8, so that's some tough love for an 8-year-old. He finds Freedon Nad's tomb, and he's after a Sith holocron, because he's pretty sure that any Sith tomb he visits, or most of them, will have a holocron in it, if it hasn't been discovered already. He finds the holocron. He keeps having these visions of some of the old Sith Lords from the Sith Academy on Korriban, like Khan and Cordus and Qasim and stuff like that. He keeps seeing them, like they're haunting him, haunting his brain. He knows they're not real, because when he's with Zannah, he sees them and she doesn't sense any dark side power emanating from them. So then, since she doesn't sense anything weird around them, he's like, no, they can't be real. They're in my mind. And he's having like headaches from these visions that he keeps having. So when he gets to Freedon Nad's temple, they show up there too in his head, apparently, and he sees them. and they're like ahead of him, kind of like goading him and showing him the way to the holocron room. I don't know if it's them actually leading him there or if it's him. I don't know. But somehow they lead him to the holocron room. He gets there. He finds the holocron, and he also quickly notices that there's these crustaceans that are on the wall, like these insect-type creatures that are on the wall, and they're not really moving kind of yet, but he notices they have these hard shells on them, which we later find out are like impenetrable shells, like lightsabers can't even dig into them. And he approaches the holocron. Once he gets closer to it, these crustaceans start to move a little bit, like they're going to come out at him. So then he realizes they're going to, he fends a couple of them off, but then he's like, they're going to start coming after me. So I got to dive after this holocron. So he does. They all descend upon him. He's like, well, I got to start fighting my way out of this. So he tries to fight his way out of it. He describes it as trying to fight off rain droplets in a storm. So he's going to get engulfed. He is able to put this dark side like power to shoot him away, and a bunch of them get away, but a couple of them latch onto him. He finds out that these are called obelisks. They latch onto your body and they release toxins into your body that through the pain you kind of become stronger in the dark side, so it makes you more powerful, kind of in the same way that Darth Vader's suit made him more powerful in the dark side, because he was always in pain. And then that pain turned into anger and frustration and power, and through victory, my chains are broken, that type of thing. He starts to learn about the secrets that are within this holocron from Freed and Nad, learns about the obelisks, but he also learns that there's a lot of things he's going to learn from this holocron that is going to take possibly years, because it's going to take a lot of meditation, concentration, to break into a Sith holocron. It's not, you don't just open it and secrets come out. You have to use the Force to try to penetrate the holocron in different ways to make it reveal the secrets within it, whether it's a Jedi holocron or a Sith holocron. Xana finds herself in some trouble. She finds a way to get to Onderon. She has to kill some people and steal a ship. And she steals the ship. She gets to Onderon. She lands in this clan, this Beast Rider clan's territory, and they try to take her ship. And she's like, no, I can't take my ship. And they try to attack her, but then Bane comes out of nowhere. He force persuades one of the Drexels, the dragons I talked about, on Zune to let him ride the dragon, and then somehow is able to fly this dragon through the vat of space onto Onderon. He says that the moon of Zune is close enough to Onderon to where he can, the atmospheres almost meet each other and he could fly his way there. I think it's a little weird. I mean, we all know how far away things in space. I mean, if they were that close to each other, wouldn't they collapse in gravity? I don't know. They're not my rules of science. Go ahead, Drew. You do what you want. Anyway, he finds his way there on the dragon. He fights this clan of beasts. He kills them. Then once he's done, he dispatches of them, he lands. Xana sees the obelisks on his body, and he notices that she sees them, and he says, these are called obelisks. Tells her all about them, and basically says, they latch onto my body and they make me strong in the dark side. He's like, I wouldn't have been able to do what I just did if I didn't have these. So now, after this happens, the book fast forwards 10 years. Bane is now engulfed in obelisks at this point. Apparently, when they feed on your dark side power, eventually they start to multiply and they take over your body. And the only way he could even stop him from taking over his face is if he wore this special mask when he sleeps, so that way they didn't engulf his face. He's also, over the last 10 years, tried to find ways not only to seek more knowledge in the dark side, but to build a Sith holocron to encapsulate all the secrets he's learned to pass on in the Sith Order as the Sith continue to exist. Xana has also been kind of a ears and eyes for him out in the universe, and he's built a network of smugglers, servants, people to help him gain political power and to also do his bidding, to find things that would help him achieve more power in the dark side and politically. And Xana becomes a part of this anti-Republic terrorist group. I forget the name of it. They plan this coup on the Republic, and Xana sabotages it. Basically, her and Bane are just trying to cause disorder wherever they are. That furthers their cause, because then the more disorder there is under them, the faster that they can rise to power, because they're gonna stay a little bit more organized and ahead of the game. Xana comes face to face with the leader of this organization at one point. His name is Hetton, and she realizes he's also a dark side user, and he reveals I've been searching for someone like you for a long time, and I've been trying to learn ways of the dark side. You can help me. I've plateaued in my learning. You got to help me. So she's like, well, I have a master. I can't help you. And he's like, oh, well, what are you going to do with your master? Like, I mean, how long is that going to last? And she goes, well, eventually I'll surpass him and then I'll kill him. And then he's like, well, why don't you do that right now? And she's like, I mean, maybe, I don't know, you know? So she learns that he has a bunch of Sith artifacts he's collected over the years. I think his family was rich and he wanted to know more about the dark side, more about the Sith. His family like hired somebody to teach this guy this dark side, but he wasn't great at it. In fact, he wasn't even really a Jedi or a Sith. He was just like a bounty hunter that knew somewhat about the Force. He convinces her to take them back to Ambria. Ambria is a planet that Bane and Xana took up camp on after they left Ruusan, or after Andron, really. They took up camp there. He convinces her to take him there, along with 8 people that he's recruited from a former Sith academy called Umbera. And Umbera was specialized in stealth and assassination. So he says, if you take me to your master, help me kill him, then I can become your apprentice, and then we can continue on and you can teach me more, but to turn me into a better Force user. They go there. Eventually, you know, they fight each other. Bane wins. Spoiler alert. Bane is upset that Xana sent these people upon him. She convinces him, no, I didn't send these people here. He said he wanted to meet here, but I didn't intervene because I wanted to see what would happen. And really, you're the master. Your job to fight this fight. And if you lose, then you weren't worthy of being a Sith master. And he hears that, he's like, you're right, I wouldn't be worthy. So he's staying steadfast and true to his mission and his goal as a Sith master in the rule of 2, which is, if I'm to stay the Sith master, I have to survive as a Sith master. And if I don't, then my apprentice will then become the new master. It's just the way it is. Bane has been trying to make a holocron for a while. He's starting to think that the Orbalisks won't allow him to do it because they make him physically kind of incapable. I think he becomes kind of shaky while he's doing it, and holocrons are small. They require a lot of microscopic work to be done, like you have to create these lattices and stuff like that in the holocron. And you have to do it quickly, or else put like a force power on it that can degrade over time if you don't do it quick enough. He's not able to make one. After Bane kills Hetton and his recruits, Xana reveals that Hetton knew a lot about a lot of Sith artifacts, but also knew of this resting place of a former Sith Lord named Belia Darzu, who was great at making Sith holocrons. He wanted to learn about this stuff that he knew to try to improve his holocron making, but then he also told Xana, why don't you go and try to find more information about how to remove the Orbalisks, just in case they're hindering me from making a holocron. So she goes to Coruscant, pretends to be a Jedi Padawan. Somehow Derevit, her childhood friend, also arrives there. It has to do with this Jedi monument that the Jedi are trying to build on Ruusan to honor the Jedi who passed away on Ruusan. And there's another former Jedi Padawan you learn of named Yohun Orthone. I think it's Yohun, it's Johun. The way it's spelled, it kind of made me think Yohun. They actually take Derevit there because Derevit's responsible for trying to sabotage them making the monument, because he's against the Jedi and the Sith. He just feels like they just leave destruction wherever they go. He's not completely wrong. They bring him there because he gives them knowledge that the Sith still exist. They're like, oh, well, we need to explore this knowledge that you have. So they get there. He finds his way into the Jedi archives. Xana's there at the time, pretending to be another Jedi Padawan. They run into each other, and she's like, Derevit, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? And, you know, they kind of catch up for a second. While Xana's looking for her knowledge of how to remove the Orbalisk, she eventually does find the studies on how to remove them. Derevit was looking through other stuff that has to do with healing, because he's a healer. And once she discovers him there, she realizes that he's seen her, and I think he saw Bane too he saw Bane on Ruusan. And it was another little meeting there where Derevit found the orb, the thought bomb, and then Bane and Xana showed up there because Bane wanted to show Xana the thought bomb, and then this weird confrontation happened and Xana cut off his hand. Anyway, you have to read it to see it. So Xana was afraid that Derevit was going to reveal them to the Jedi, so then she takes him with her. The Jedi find out that she was there and discovered that they want to go to Tython, because that's where the Belia Darzu resting place is. And it's a deep core world. Apparently it's impossible to get to, but Hetton says, nope, it's not impossible because I found a way to get there. Her and Derevit get back to Ambria, where Bane still is. He's still trying to build the Sith holocron. She lets them know, or lets him know, that she found a way to get to this planet to learn more about some secrets of making Sith holocrons. And then she convinces Bane to let them take Darevit with them because he's a healer. He can also try and help remove the orbalisks. And Bane is reluctant, but he's like, all right, well, she was able to convince him. So he's like, okay, he can come with, They go, the Jedi learn they're on Tython. So they go there with Farfalla and 3 other Jedi Masters and Yohun Orthone, the former Padawan. Also, one of the Jedi Masters has battle meditation, which makes a huge difference in the fight that's about to happen. Bane and Xana get there with Darevit, and they find a holocron in the Belia Darzu temple. He's trying to learn from it at the time, but then they sense the Jedi coming. Big fight happens. They realize they have to take out that Jedi that's using battle meditation. At one point, Bane lashes out in dark side energy, and a bunch of electricity comes out from him. And this kills 6 or 7 of the orbalisks on him and knocks him out. It also takes out a bunch of people around him. But as soon as that happens, Xana's like, oh, when the orbalisks die, they release toxins that can kill the host. So now I gotta take him somewhere to heal him. So there's only one healer she remembers him talking about that has helped him once before that could probably heal him of this. And Darevit's not capable. He's just not an experienced enough healer to do it. Caleb from the first book. You'll remember Bane threatened Caleb's daughter's life unless Caleb helped him, because he was close to dying at that point. They go to Caleb. Caleb's refusing. Darevit eventually convinces Caleb to do it, but only if Xana renounces the ways of the Sith, disables her ship, and then alerts the Jedi that they're there through a message to the Jedi. Xana agrees, but she's got her own plan on the back burner that she doesn't reveal quite yet. I won't reveal what that plan is. I'd rather you just read it so you can kind of see. It's kind of cool. Bane gets healed. They remove the orbalisks. You have to jolt him with electricity to remove him. His skin's all messed up and mashed up and full of pus and all this nasty stuff. But they remove him, heal his skin. The Jedi are on their way, and Bane's freaking out. But then Xana's plan works. The Jedi show up. They don't know the Sith were involved. They then think that the Sith are just still kind of a mystery at this point. Bane and Xana escape, able to continue the Sith Order. It's hard for me not to get into details once I start talking about one, so if I got wordy again, sorry, but that's just what I do. I enjoyed the book, but not as much as the first one. So readability, like I said, I like the way Drew Karpyshyn writes. I like his writing style. Anything he writes, I'm going to enjoy. The content, though, the dragon him and riding the dragon through space was kind of weird for me. It's not really explained how yeah, I know we had the whole Leia floating through space thing that was later, in the sequel movies, but just not something you'd think, oh yeah, he's going to ride a dragon through space. It's not something you thought would be possible in Star Wars lore. It's in Legends lore. You can ride if it's short enough distance. He claimed that Zune, the moon, was close enough to Andron that he could just fly through the atmospheres and get there. So that was a little weird. I did enjoy Xana's character. She kind of took on the same persona as Githany from the first book. They describe her as really beautiful. She's manipulative towards people, uses her looks to get what she wants. Definitely stronger than Githany. That's just kind of the persona that I got from it. And I enjoyed reading that she was into Sith sorcery. That was cool. She had a double-bladed lightsaber that was a little smaller, and she had a style that allowed her to use a lot of defense to tire her opponents, that allowed her to strike after they were tired. Thought that was kind of cool to learn about. Bane, through the orbalisks, becomes super powerful. He takes out 8, not Sith Lords, but strong Sith apprentices at a time, multiple times fought multiple people at a time, and been able to survive. He barely survived the Jedi Master encounter, but basically almost, if it wasn't for the battle meditation, it would have easily taken them out. But also the orbalisks, lightsabers can't penetrate the orbalisks, so that was a huge advantage for him. If he didn't have them, I don't know if he would have survived, but that's just part of his power level with having the orbalisks. That was part of his power level. I did enjoy learning about that little piece of lore about how the orbalisks give you stronger dark side power. That was kind of cool. The Jedi are kind of boring in the book. It's a book about a Sith Lord, so I don't think the Jedi are meant to be exciting, because you really want the focus is on the Sith. That's to be expected. The first book, I think, really set a tone that was it was just Bane's trials and tribulations and becoming the Sith Master that would eventually create the Rule of Two and continue the Sith Order as one Sith Master with a Sith apprentice. That whole sequence of events was really exciting. This one, still fun to read, but just didn't really meet up to it. Try not to be too nice here. I've been really nice at the other books, so not gonna say it was bad. I liked the book, just content-wise, didn't quite meet up to the other book. Characters in the book, There's the Sith apprentices that Hetton recruited. There's Hetton. And then you got, obviously, Darth Bane. Darth Bane with the Orbalisks being impenetrable takes him to like a whole nother level. The fact that the Orbalisks also hinder him and can potentially kill them kind of brings a different dimension to his power. Obviously, it makes him more mortal in that sense, and I think that scares him. Eventually, he would still like to remove the Orbalisks, even if they didn't prevent him from making a Sith holocron. Definitely a stronger Darth Bane in this book, if you can imagine. He was pretty strong in the last book, super strong in this one. Again, had to be revived and healed though, so putting himself in these situations where he's just like almost gonna die and survives. But you know, that's the lore of the Sith. They survive. Treachery, deceit, and behind the scenes. Very Darth Sidious-like. So he really truly encapsulates what the Sith are. I'm not going to go into the Jedi that fought on Tython with Xana and Bane. There are their names. Like, you only learn about them in that fight, so not really going to get into them too much. Farfalla's in the book again. He seems less vain in this book and definitely takes on more of a leadership role. Yohun, by the way, was Hoth's former Padawan, General Hoth from the first book. So Farfalla kind of takes on a mentorship for him. Eventually grants him knighthood, but he passes during that fight anyway. So, and then you got Derevit, the healer that was Xana's childhood friend. Kind of a boring character. Bane is just, I mean, and he's the focal point, but I think he's, to a fault, the most interesting person in the book. And even though he's the focal point, it would be nice to have multiple people be interesting in the book. Even Xana's pretty interesting, but I don't know. Bane is just, he's Bane. He's awesome, which is great. I'm glad I got a character in the book that's awesome to focus on. But, I mean, give me 2 or 3 other people that are really, really interesting. The rest of the characters, to me, not that interesting. That's what made the book not really live up to the past book, because I thought way more characters were interesting in that book than this one. And then you got Caleb, the old healer from the old book. Again, I'm not going to get into a rating because I want to get through the whole trilogy before we give out a rating for this book, but I hope you do get a chance to read it. It was a good read. I did enjoy the read. Just because I didn't enjoy it as much as the last one doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. If you so choose to purchase this book, there will be a link in the description. It is an Amazon affiliate link. My channel will benefit if you choose to purchase the book from that link, just so you know. And if you do, I hope you buy it so you want to read it, not just to support me. I appreciate the support, but I would also like to expand our conversation when it comes to Star Wars Legends and canon lore. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy the content I provide, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I hope you guys have a happy new year, and may the force be with you. I will see you on the next video. Thanks so much.